I am really proud of and excited about the three of us coming together. I think there's some elements that I haven't seen before in a 200-hour yoga teacher training. So that's pretty special. I'm going to ask you guys some questions to introduce you, and then I will talk a little bit about my own yoga experience and teach training experience. And then we will dive into some of the things that you want to share about the course personally, what you're excited about, that kind of thing. Because there are some things in this program that are a little different to some of the yoga teacher trainings, 200-hour yoga teacher trainings out there. And that's because we have two very special people involved, and then myself.
Three very special people.
So we'll start with you, Haidee, and I would love to hear, first of all, how you got into yoga.
Thank you. Thanks for the intro. So I got into yoga on a whim when I first moved to Auckland in about 2001. I saw some yoga being advertised at a local community centre, and just I made my boyfriend, now partner slash husband at the time, come along with me, still current partner, boyfriend, husband, whatever, lover. And so we rocked along. He was very resistant to it. And so I pulled his arm to go, and it was really old school yoga. The teacher sat at the front of the room. She told you what to do and you kind of did it. And so there was all a bit of giggling and that at the back with us in the back row, not really knowing what we're doing. And there was something, I don't know what it was, but I was like, there's something in this that I want more from. And I didn't know what it was at the time. There's just a pull to it. And so a couple of years went by, I had got pregnant and decided to do pregnancy yoga at the same community centre. And it was again that little flicker of something just really drew me in, and I didn't know what it is. I still don't know what it is. And it's the same thing that keeps me coming back to yoga and wanting to share and wanting to teach all the time. So I kind of seriously got into yoga after the birth of my first son and was going to Les Mills and doing all the classes and found this yoga teacher. And I was like, I don't want anything else but yoga. I just want to do. So I went to her classes, and the rest is kind of, I guess, history from there. Yeah, it's been definitely a weekly, if not daily, part of my life since about the last 20 years.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And similarly for me, I started doing Bikram because of an injury, and something kept pulling me back. And it wasn't actually until I moved to Los Angeles that I would go to these yoga classes, and it was at a really difficult time in my life. I didn't realize at the time that I was clinically depressed, but I would leave these classes and I would feel peaceful. I would have these little glimmers, these little spaces of peacefulness. And I'd walk home. I lived in Los Feliz. I remember these hot nights walking home and being and saying to myself, just hold on to this, just hold on to this, just hold on to this. And then very quickly it would disappear. And that was the first time I'd experienced that kind of mind-body integration. And, I'd done a lot of exercise, I'd done a lot of running and weights and that kind of thing, but I'd never felt that space or the quietening of my mind like I did after yoga. And that was my gateway into it for sure. How about you?
What feels alive for me is what you brought up around community, Haidee. So I first explored yoga at university. It was I think in New Zealand, you call it a course paper, or for me, it was class credit. So it was a whole term of learning more yogic philosophy from a gentleman teacher, Peter Sage.
That was exciting.
Yeah. From Peter Sage. And so I was maybe 20 years old doing this for college credit. And it sparked this curiosity. It started to, I think, help me anchor some beliefs that had no framework, but I knew to be true for me. I think that's when I first became introduced to who Ram Dass was, starting to feel into spirituality without having this religious dogma to it. So it really helped anchor me. And then I left university and started to travel around the world. And everywhere I went, I tapped into a yoga community by making sure that I was visiting some of the studios that were available. Because I think as an immigrant or someone that was, visiting or working in these new countries, the studios provided a sense of community. And then fast forwarding, arriving here in New Zealand, I opened up Kanuka yoga space as someone who was really keen to continue tapping into community. There are no other yoga studios in the area where Kanuka was and still isn't really. Um, and I wasn't a teacher, but I wanted a place to practice and I wanted to bring together teachers that I really loved and felt a sense of safety with. And it wasn't until maybe 2 years into running the studio that I decided to get my teacher training. So that's kind of my path. Yeah, it's
Cool.
always been around community.
That's why I started SOM. Actually, when I came back to New Zealand, I was now sober. When I left New Zealand, I most definitely wasn't. And also a meditator and a yogi. And I didn't have people that I really vibed with. I left Los Angeles, where it was a huge community, very similar to me. And here in New Zealand, I felt I had to like create my own to find my own, which has worked out really well, I must say. Like it is pretty cool to have so many people around you who are on this incredible path, making, choices similar to the choices that I'm have decided to make. Okay, so gateways into yoga, similar but different. And Haidee, you are a self-proclaimed anatomy geek. Why did that happen? How did that happen?
Good question. That is absolutely my passion and my obsession, anatomy and physiology. I did my initial teacher training in 2013 was called integrated yoga at the time. And I think my love for anatomy, I mean, the first day we did cells, we had to look at the cell and I'm like, what is this cosmic thing that has a whole city universe inside it? And so I was just, I don't know, something just clicked in me and I have taken myself to that water trough and drunk many times from it. Yeah, it's just I just love it. I love it. I love nerves. I love all the things, all the intricate details and all the kind of the macrocosm of it as well.
And so with the physical asana yoga experience, what are some of the most, I don't know, interesting, magical things that you have learned about the body within a yoga practice?
Probably the most magical thing is connective tissue because it's just kind of this inner matrix, this web. It communicates to our nerves or our nervous system. We can move it and it has a fluid dynamic. And I guess in yoga, that the part of the body that we are, when we're doing yoga asana or the movement, something that's really tangible that people can feel a difference in. I just taught a class today and someone came up to me afterwards and like, oh, I had this really sore knee when I walked in. And all those things we did, my knee's not sore anymore. It really worked. And it's like, well, it's less about the movement and more that you just moved and you got some fluid moving through some tissue. So it's, yeah, probably connective tissue. I mean, tendons and ligaments. I think ligaments are probably my favorite connective tissue out of them all.
The word irrigation, I think, is such a great word when it comes to what yoga does to the physical body. I have to say, I've had a few injuries over the years, and I've also had 2 pregnancies. And yoga is just like a soothing balm for the body. Like every single injury I've ever had, yoga has been one of the most important things in healing that injury, whether it's knee stuff, shoulder stuff, so many different things. And the beauty of what I've found in my practice is how it carries you through the years and how adaptable it is, and how if you're really tuned into your body and have an intimate connection with your physical body, you can practice in a way that is never destructive. If you're careful enough and aware enough, like you can turn up the volume if you need to turn up the volume, if you want to increase strength, stability, but then you can also use it as medicine if you do have injuries or postpartum. Like my last pregnancy, I was back on the mat within a couple of weeks. Rafi came a bit early, but straight away, you're able to go back, and with intelligence and awareness, you can kind of practice through most things is what I've experienced myself. How about you?
Mm. Yeah, well, what drew me to yoga was that it was a much more gentle movement practice than I had grown up with. I used to be a competitive figure skater, and then I was a collegiate cheerleader of the like co-ed acrobatic sense. Yeah, so it was intense and so many injuries, like, and especially that young, such a lack of awareness. So yoga for me kind of gave me that sense of freedom of what I really enjoyed in these more acrobatic practices, but in so much like grounded, more respectful, compassionate way for my own body. What excites me about this training and trainings, in the past is this ability to make your physical practice accessible for any moment that you need it. And then that just starts to create this ripple effect around making your mental practice also accessible at any moment as well.
Yeah, I think it's a mind body practice like no other. So holistic, so integrated. I'm really excited to introduce meditation as a really key element rather than just an add on, which I have seen in many trainings where Shavasana is basically all, all that you get when it comes to meditation. And I know that yoga is meditative, as a practice itself. But, there's so many parts of yoga that actually enhance a seated meditative practice in such a profound way. And it would be really cool to go into some of the neuroscience of that, the nervous system elements of that, and weave it all together in a really, really mindful way. What about you, Haidee? What's exciting to you about this training?
I what you've said, I really like how you're putting the meditative aspects as like a main thread through it. I think that's quite unique and quite special because there's a real power. I mean, the brain and body, do we separate them? No, but just for this, we do. But there's a real power in learning. I always think of that quote. I think it's Jack Cornfield, and he's like, meditating is like going into a bad neighborhood by yourself. You never know what you might find. And so if you give people this tool, what a gift and what a power to be able to kind of master your mind, I guess, in a way. Yeah, so that excites me because I'm sure there's going to be stuff that I'll be able to learn as well. And the nervous system is quick and it's magical. And when you do non-sleep deep resting, cool things happen.
Oh, they sure do. My study was almost parallel. So I studied in a Buddhist meditative tradition at the same time as my first yoga teacher training. And so I learned them separately, but very quickly I saw the symbiosis and even the relationship to Buddhism and Hinduism was, a really cool thing for me to learn, and the universalities in both those. So the ethics and the philosophy and the history of yoga meditation is definitely going to be a really cool part of this. And Raquel will be introducing something that's really important when it comes to teaching, and that is making sure that we are inclusive and that we're informed about what can happen to people and for people when they come to the practice. As teachers, it is so important to feel prepared and like you're ready for different people, different walks of life, different bodies, different experiences when they enter your class. And so I'm very excited that you will be covering all that for us.
Oh, it just feels like, so connect. I can't wait to what Haidee will bring in because it starts with, your body, your nervous system, how that then influences your mind, and then how that then relates to your external environment. And so when I think about trauma informed practices, how do we use yoga? How do we lean into that relationship of yoga from a body, mind, and community perspective? Because how we show up for ourselves is how we can show up in the world around us. So, really, yeah, looking forward to unpacking and getting curious around what each of our students and ourselves can continue to bring into our communities. How do we create safety? When I think about how I was drawn to yoga because I wanted an environment that I truly could feel authentic in. And so how do we, really embody that sense of safety in ourselves so that we can provide it in others is just a lifelong inquiry, but something that I'm really excited to continue to bring to the forefront in our module after module.
We have covered some wonderful, wonderful things in this training. Like it really is the full spectrum and will prepare people to feel comfortable, to feel confident as teachers. But something that's always been really important to me is creating community as well, and then supporting. So I've trained many meditation teachers previously, and mentoring and being there for them and being there for their questions. And also, one of the reasons I'd started SOM was so that the teachers I trained had somewhere to teach from. So it is pretty cool that our teacher trainees will have access to essentially 3 different communities, which I think is a really, really beautiful thing. So let's just finish now with a little share on what our practice is to us these days. I'm 45 years old. I have 2 children. I run a business. Every single time I get on my mat, every single time without fail, there is this sense of coming home. No matter what's going on for me in my body, my mat is my safe place, and this almost automatic settles upon me when I come to my mat. My meditation practice is ever so slightly different. Meditation without the movement can honestly be a little more confronting at times, but is still, this really amazing opportunity just to see what's going on in my mind and my body, and then to be able to approach life from connection and knowing what mood, what state of mind. So that self-connection I've got for my practice continues to this day. And my physical asana practice oscillates between very gentle to incredibly physical. And I love that I can dial it up and dial it down whenever I want to. How about you?
I would have to relate to the self connection in that my yogic practice from a physical asana point of view is, an ability to tune into my needs and my self care and to help me resource so that I can continue to provide in all the roles, all the different hats that I wear. It's just a moment to slow down and connect with myself. But then I could say the exact same words on a mind level and in a spiritual level. So yeah, I think that just sense of connection with myself and those around me keeps me coming back.
It helps me get out of my own way
Mm.
too. Like it's really interesting. Yeah. The integrative nature of
Mm.
meditation. How about you, Haidee?
Freedom. My practice gives me freedom and space. And that's what my body shows me. It's, look, there's space between breaths, there's space between cells, there's all that. It's like, yeah, I want that. I want that in my life. I want space, freedom, and choice, I guess, which is when I lie on the ground, which I normally do before I do any movements. It's just like, come at me, body. What do you want to tell me? And it's like, yeah, I'm listening. And so just, that's the basic. I'm quite a lazy yogi as well. I do go to vinyasa classes and I do teach it if I need to, but I'm normally luxuriating in sensation. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds so good. Space and freedom. That is the perfect place to end.